Hi, it's John Wren. It's Friday, October 16th. This is the Startup Show. And we're here each Friday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Right now, Mountain Daylight Time, but that won't be for long. And we talk about startup. If you're starting a new career, a new project, a new campaign, a new business, you're in the right place. And if you'd like to be on the show, give us a call, 303-861-1447. We'll schedule you on as a guest to talk about how you got started, especially people that have run successfully for political office. We're going to have one or two of those on with us next week for sure. If you'd like to join that group, give us a call Monday, 303-861-1447. Or you can send us a Twitter question, inquiry, request to be on the show. The Twitter handle is @IdeaCafe, which you can see there on the screen. So this is the Startup Show. I'm John Wren, and I've started lots of stuff. I am better at starting than I am at finishing. And so I've specialized in startup. Been doing that for 20-some years. And I've worked with a lot of people who have started new careers, new projects, new campaigns, new businesses. And I maybe can be helpful to you, talking to you one-on-one, or attend the Denver Idea Cafe Startup Workshop. It's free and open to everybody each Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Panera Bread Cafe, right on the corner of 13th and Grant, which is just a block from the Colorado State Capitol. If you want to see more about that, go to www.johnwren.com or Google Small Business Chamber of Commerce, Denver. There's all kinds of ways to get to us. But just be at the meeting. Now, today it's a special meeting, and we're going to talk about the topic that's going to be discussed and brainstormed this afternoon. It's the Colorado Caucus, the most powerful networking tool known to man, I believe. And you can take advantage of it several different ways. We're going to talk about those ways here on the show today, and we will discuss it further and brainstorm it this afternoon at the Denver Idea Cafe Startup Workshop. So stay tuned now for the next half hour, and then join us this afternoon, 2 o'clock, Panera Bread. And, the Colorado Caucus almost went away in 2002. A group formed called Save the Caucus, and that they did. It's been with us ever since. It had almost died because it was combined with a presidential primary, and a presidential primary kills the caucus. It just takes too many of the reporters' hours for the media and the volunteer hours for the people. It takes it away from focusing on these neighborhood gatherings that take place every 2 years. The caucus system used to be much more widespread in nearly every state. It was part of the Teddy Roosevelt reforms. And if you saw the movie The Gangs of New York, you can see what was being reformed. That was a portrayal of Tammany Hall, and maybe an overcharacterization, I don't really know, but there were political parties that abused power, and the caucus system was designed to defuse that. It's, I think, a good way to select candidates by a political party. What used to happen is whoever the leaders were would decide. Some people think that still happens, but only if we let it. If people show up at their neighborhood caucus, they can make a profound difference. Now, the caucus this year, the first Tuesday in February is going to be the Democrats. First Tuesday in March will be the Republicans. And to participate, you do need to be affiliated with the party. That is, if you want to participate with a vote. By law, they're open public meetings. Anyone can attend. And this group that we're going to be co-meeting with this afternoon, Citizens Campaign for the Colorado Caucus is encouraging observers to be at each precinct and then to report in results. And the Democrats and the Republicans have slightly different ways of operating, so the report will have a slightly different flavor for each of them. But recruiting volunteers right now, if you're disgusted with the whole thing, you've maybe switched your registration to unaffiliated, this will give you a chance to be at both caucuses in your neighborhood, not just one. Go to both caucuses and report back, and we'll try to have overnight reporting on the new Citizens Campaign for the Colorado Caucus. And we'll be brainstorming how we're going to do this afternoon at the Denver Idea Cafe Startup Workshop. So join us. Now, what I want to do now is to talk about the Colorado Caucus in such a way that it will encourage participation in one of two different ways. One is to affiliate with a party and really become active as an active citizen through the party of your choice. Each major political party has this caucus system across Colorado. Now, the small parties, it would be fine if they do a caucus, they just don't have enough people. There's 3,000 precincts, so if you have a small political party, it's just not going to work for you, so they use a convention system generally. But the Colorado Caucus is an institution that goes back to 1912. It was part of the Teddy Roosevelt reforms, along with referendum, recall, initiative, these things that strengthen the power of the grassroots. And the caucus was a powerful tool for doing just that. And it reformed some of the abuses of the parties where the parties just really weren't responding to the will of the people. Now, that can still happen, and there's still a safety valve, and that is any office, any local office, you can petition on as well as go through the caucus. And if everybody wants you, but the party leaders have not treated you fairly, you don't feel like, you can always petition on to the primary ballot. Now, the caucus system is a way to get on the primary ballot without very much expenditure of money. And then to take advantage of the party of your choice to leverage your resources along with the other candidates, so that it's the best chance the average ordinary person like me, maybe like you, has of serving in public office. Everyone complains about how the money is influencing politics too much. Well, the caucus system is a way, it's the antidote to the money problem, in my opinion. It's hard to come up with rules and regulations that can't be gotten around. But the caucus system, it's been documented, a couple of books, Grassroots Rules, Stanford University Press, Why Iowa. Books have documented, and they're doing careful research this year. I'm sure they'll find out the same thing, that the big money just doesn't make a difference for the candidate in the caucus like it does in a primary election. In a primary election, you can pour on the ads, you can get your people out to the polls, in mass. But with the caucus system, it's a different animal. And the big money, big power doesn't make, that's why the big money, big power consistently tries to get rid of the caucus. They tried to get rid of it here in Colorado in 2002. And a group formed called Save the Caucus, despite being outspent 1,400 to 1. Yeah, that's right, 1,400 to 1. Save the Caucus did that very thing, winning 60%, 40%. And we've had the caucus here ever since in Colorado. Now, a bill was introduced that would have killed the caucus. It would have reinstituted the presidential primary, which had wounded it so badly before. And we know what happens with the presidential primary. It detracts from the caucus. People stop showing up. It becomes just party insiders. And we still haven't fully recovered the full health of the caucus yet. You may have gone to a caucus and had a bad experience. But, if you go to a bad restaurant, a friend of mine in the restaurant business says, you should always give a new restaurant a second chance. And your caucus is the eternally new restaurant. It's always new. There's leadership turning over, or it's being clogged up by somebody that the neighbors need to get together and, you know, rotate the leadership. I believe rotating leaderships and caucuses is generally important, but let the neighbors decide. And if you're the leadership's not, now the first order of business in the caucus is a little bit of a different animal. It's prescribed by Colorado statute, the time that it must meet, the notice, who participates in it. That's all on the Colorado Secretary of State's website. If you just Google Colorado Secretary of State elections, caucuses, you go right there and it will give you all you need to know how to participate. But it's a little bit of a different animal. The first order of business per Colorado revised statutes is the election of a chairperson for the evening. And a lot of caucuses don't do this. Whoever was precinct committee person last time just runs the meeting, but you could object to that. And if you can get enough people to support you, then they follow the rules. Now, it's each caucus is independent. It's a real exercise in grassroots democracy. And I've been to caucuses where I've objected, been voted down, and then I was going to challenge at the county convention level. And I never did it. It has been done. You know, you just need to make sure that it's worth the time and effort to do it. And I decided it really wasn't to be a precinct committee person. But I've been to a lot of caucuses. They're each one a little bit different. And if the one you went to last time wasn't to your satisfaction, give it another try and go with some of your friends. You know, if you right now start contacting neighbors about going to the caucus with you, by the time the caucus rolls around, you'll have enough people to vote yourself in as precinct committee person if that's what you want. And the precinct committee person then is the part of the caucus that is selected to eventually pick a county chair and a state party chair. And that's party leadership. And not too many people are really, really on fire about that. And it's too bad because it's a great, great opportunity to be of real service to your neighbors. I had a neighbor, Lyle Linda Smith, who had been executive director of the Colorado State Party when it developed John Love as a candidate, and he became governor. And then Lindy was John Love's administrative assistant when he went to Washington, D.C. to be the first energy czar. Whether that was a good thing or a bad thing is very debatable, but that was what was decided in Washington. They picked John Love, and Lindy went with him. But he had built up the caucus system in his way by volunteering to do presentation after presentation on how the caucus system worked. It was the action class of practical politics, and I think I helped him lead the last one that he ever did. It was in the Petroleum Club building. Jeannie Fouts tells me she still remembers going. She was just a neighborhood activist at the time, had not been elected to any office, and she just was term limited out of Denver City Council after having served there, and then prior to that, in the state legislature. So she had a very long time in office and did a great job, in my opinion. And it started, maybe, in a way to think about it, is that action class of practical politics. And there needs to be training reinstituted. And the parties are both doing a good job of trying to get the word out about how to participate. Then those things have to be translated into action at the grassroots level. And the precinct is the kind of things that, you know, many hands make light the work. By the inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. And if you don't have block workers, it's just overload on the precinct committee person. The party leadership consists of working our way from the top down the registered people in the precinct. And then of service to them is their block worker. And of service to the block worker is the precinct committee person, trying to help the block workers get information and that type of thing out to the residents in their neighborhood. When somebody new moves in, if it's a well-organized precinct, they go and welcome them and find out if they're a candidate to be in their political party or not. Now, that almost never happens anymore. It used to happen almost every time. And that's the linchpin that's missing that makes the whole thing work. You know, we put all this energy into who's going to be president, when I don't think that's the problem, actually. I think the problem is that this grassroots has just about died. You know, if you have a lawn and the grass is dying, it gets to a certain point, you just can't, it's no way to bring it back. I think ours can still be brought back, but we're going to find out in this election cycle. And, you know, to do that, what's being formed is this citizens campaign for the Colorado caucus to try to revitalize the precincts and to help people understand better how it works. You know, the best place to do these little workshops on how the system works, if it's not online, and online is, you know, good in some ways, but it really is not as good as having people sit down in your living room and you talk with them. We're going to be looking for volunteers that maybe have grown disgusted. They've changed their party affiliation to unaffiliated. And those are the people that we're going to look for that would do a couple of things. One is observe at the precinct itself and then post a report. But the other thing is to try to welcome newcomers who move into their neighborhood, or just maybe newcomers to the Colorado politics, and help them understand how the caucus system works and help direct them towards the party of their choice, sort of a welcome wagon of politics. And we're constructing a website. We'll be brainstorming that this afternoon at the Denver Idea Cafe Startup Workshop, and we'd love to have you join us. And we'll have the show next week on this same topic. I say it's a great networking event because you meet people that you never, ever would meet otherwise. I mean, I've described the party structure starting at the top with the registered voters in the precinct, then the block workers, then the precinct committee person, usually a district captain, and then a county chair. And then the state party supports the counties. And it is the party structure that's the backbone of this. And there needs to be good people that take their turn at bat. And Lyle Lindesmith, who influenced me so much, he was of the opinion that if you became active in the party structure, that generally, you know, you weren't going to be a good candidate. If you have people in the party structure leading the party, and what they really want to do is run for office themselves, it really ends up being a much weaker party. Now, there are exceptions to that. You know, John Love may have been an exception, but I think Lindy, through that experience, came to see that you kind of need to pick one path or the other. One path being, do you want to be elected yourself, and then you take the candidate route, or do you want to help other good people get elected? And if you do that, if you want to help other good people get elected, and that's me. I mean, I've run for office as a sacrificial lamb when I had absolutely no chance of winning. I've done that twice, once as a Democrat, once as a Republican, but I wanted to experience how it worked. There was really no hope to win, but I was on the ballot, and one was just the vacancy committee selection, but the other one, I was on the ballot and I ran a bit of a campaign and just got killed by the incumbent naturally, but I got to see how the process worked, and that was what I was doing, because I really have, I'm 68, it's past the time for me to do that kind of thing. I'd rather have other people learn the system, and you know, there are seasons in life when things make sense, and I've kind of just passed over the threshold on the upper end of it. On the younger end, young candidates, up until they have a young family, it's a great time to run. And we need all kinds of people, and there are people in the middle. You know, everybody makes up their own mind about these things, but there are seasons in life, and you kind of have to pick the right time. Same thing's true about going to your caucus. I mean, if somebody has a young family, high demands on their time, they may want to let their neighbors do it. But everybody should take a turn at that. You know, it's sort of like a relay race. We pass the baton and let the next generation carry on. And that's what I've done. I'm registered unaffiliated. I'm trying to help reach out to other unaffiliated voters, and together we can form a network that helps inform the new people, new to Colorado or new to Colorado politics, how the system works. And I believe we can breathe new life into the caucus system in February and March in this 2016 caucus that we're coming up to. So that's the object of the exercise. If you want to know more, join us this afternoon at the Panera Bread, 13th and Grant, just a block from the Capitol. We'll be there from 2 to 3:30 this afternoon, as we are every Friday afternoon. This afternoon, we'll be doing it as a joint meeting, and we may do this joint meeting for at least 2 or 3 times. It will be a joint meeting with the Citizens Campaign for the Colorado Caucus. And we're going to talk about your startup, where you're at, try to help you, but we'll also try to generate some ideas for the website that we're just now building that will help in this effort. And it's a strictly educational effort. It's not political. We're not going to get behind one candidate or another. We're not going to get behind one issue or another. We're just going to try to help people understand how the Colorado caucus system works so we can increase the informed participation in both caucuses in February and March. If you'd like to help with that effort, we would be delighted to have you join us. And you can do that in a couple of different ways. One is just come this afternoon, 2 o'clock at Panera Bread. The other, give this number a call, 303-861-1447. Leave a complete voicemail message, what county you live in, what your political background is, and we're going to hope to have 3,000 people wearing yellow T-shirts across the state, and be in observing and tweeting, and we'll compile overnight reports for both caucuses. So if that sounds like something you'd like to help with, we'd love to have you. Now, don't let this distract you. If you're already affiliated with a party, that's where you should be this year. You know, don't switch to unaffiliated to just do this, unless you're just so disgusted that you were going to do that anyway. We don't want to detract from either political party. If you're working for a candidate, that is the other way to get involved in politics, is to volunteer your time for a particular candidate. That's great. Stick with it. Don't try to do this also, because we will be neutral. We're not going to be advocating for any candidate or issue. It's strictly an educational effort to try to help people understand how this system works. And who knows, maybe the League of Women Voters, who used to do such a wonderful job of this, will see what we're doing and rekindle their efforts. And if they do, we'll feel like that was an even bigger success than if we'd actually been able to pull it off ourselves. We'll see how that breaks in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping somebody from the League of Women Voters might be watching this right now, and that they'll be phoning and they'll try to do, because they used to do that. When people would move into Colorado, they would have seminars, workshops on how the Colorado process works, and they have stopped doing that. It's really, Lyle Lindesmith used to do these breakfast meetings, action classes in practical politics. And nearly every chamber of commerce would be out training their members. The unions would train their members. And that type of training on how the caucus works has now been replaced on how to get involved in a campaign for a candidate. But the problem is not at the top. I think anybody you elect at the top, it's going to, you know, they may want to change things, but they can't do much. But if we change things at the grassroots and reactivate the kind of, you know, when Ben Franklin came out of the Constitutional Convention, it is said that the wife of the mayor of Philadelphia came over to him and said, well, Dr. Franklin, what kind of government have you given us? And Franklin is said to have said, Madam, we've given you a republic if you can keep it. Now, what he meant by that is, I believe, can we have the full flowering of that in these caucuses? I believe that in the back of his mind, he had this sort of, now the Franklin, Washington, Jefferson, they all would have preferred to have no political parties. But if you protect people's constitutional rights, there's no way to prevent a political party from forming. So Hamilton was forming a political party and would have won every election if an opposition party wasn't formed. But it was, and that two-party system has served us well ever since. And it's gone through changes and variations, and the Whigs became the Republicans and so forth and so on. The Democrats take their party back to Thomas Jefferson. Some Republicans claim Thomas Jefferson. Republicans claim Lincoln. Some Republicans say Lincoln, no, he'd definitely be a Democrat today. So who is in which party changes from time to time to time. But really, my own personal feeling, it doesn't matter which party, just pick a party. Because the parties work well as a megaphone. If they're a lever for you to accomplish the task that you've set in front of yourself to run for elected public office or help other good people get elected, then over time, you're going to affect the party platform. So it's a great megaphone or a lever. It's terrible if the party leadership starts thinking they're dictating to everybody, although that can have some short-term wins. That's not what Franklin had in mind when he said a republic, if you can keep it. So going to get ready to head down to Panera Bread. Hope you'll join me. If you want to talk about this during the week, I would love to talk to you. And also let me know if you'd like to be on the show next week, especially if you don't agree with me. Maybe we can have a conversation here. The other thing to do is maybe attend a Socrates Cafe. University of Denver Socrates Cafe is each Saturday. It's at 6:30 in the new Anderson Academic Commons, what used to be called Penrose Library. We're usually in current periodicals. It's very quiet in the library on Saturday night at DU, and the comfortable chairs are in current periodicals. So we pick a topic at the meeting. I'm going to suggest something along the lines of republic versus democracy. We'll see if the group goes for it. But we pick a topic at the meeting so nobody loads up. It's not a conversation between old, dead white men. It's a conversation between what we think. Most of us read to inform our own thinking, but it's our own thinking that we share. We don't just, it's not a battle from quote books. So it's a lot of fun. It's free and open to everybody. It's you'll see it in the Clarion newspaper. The student newspaper has a little item on it each week, and it's called Socrates Cafe at DU. Maybe we'll see you there this Saturday or any Saturday, 6:30 in the Anderson Academic Commons. So this is John Wren. I always try to remember myself and remind you of at the end of each show, this life is very short. So let's go get started.